This video is brought to you by Miniature Market. Thousands of board games, discounted prices, miniaturemarket.com.
Hello my friends, it's the Game Boy Geek here. This past week I reviewed the expansion for Sunrise City. It's called Nights, and you're adding nighttime buildings like speakeasies and casinos and cinemas and things like that. And so I added an additional way to change your scoring in that game, which is pretty interesting. I also looked at the Godfather A New Dawn, which is a dice game where you're basically doing area control and area majority, and you're offering favors to the Godfather, which will then give you special abilities, and you're taking those in your dice and trying to control and muscle out of people out of different neighborhoods. The next one is Macroscope. This is a family game where you're trying to look through this little macroscope by one at a time, pulling different tiles open, where you can look down and see a little bit of a drawing, and you're trying to be the first one to be able to say what that drawing is. It is a lot of fun. The next is Fabled Fruit. This is the latest from Freedom and Freeze, the guy who did Power Grid. And this is a Fabled game where it's a beginner sort of family level worker placement game that morphs into more of a gamer's game as it plays, because after every game, as the games go on, new and new mechanisms are being added to it, similar to say a legacy game, but nothing gets destroyed, and towards the end of the game, after you've played it 20 times, you can start back over. You can also start and play it with different groups, and you don't have to always be with the same group every time. Really fun game there. The last one I reviewed this week, did a full review on, was Ponzi Scheme. This is a sort of a social economic game where you're getting investments, but then you're having to pay them back, and you're robbing Peter to pay Paul, and you're trying not to be the first one to go bankrupt. And when someone does go bankrupt, you're trying to have the most points. Then there's some interesting trading that goes on. You're trying to figure out who should you trade with, and really awesome game. I also did a sneak peek and a mini review for Adrenaline. This was on my top most wanted Essen games from Czech Games Edition, CGE. It is basically a first-person shooter that uses no dice and more Euro mechanisms with cubes and ammo, and you're going around trying to shoot people. It's just a ton of fun. I did like a review after my one play of that. And I also took a look at my Saxophone Serenades, meaning the games that I kept in my library from September. So it was a really busy week. Essen games are starting to show up, so it's a busy time of year. We'll see you next week.
This video was sponsored by Miniature Market's Review Corner. The Review Corner features podcasts, video, and written game reviews by gamers for gamers. Miniature Market, the online gaming superstore. Thousands of board games, discounted prices. Check them out at miniaturemarket.com. I'd like to thank each and every one of you for backing me on Kickstarter and making this season become a reality. I'd like to especially thank those here that have backed me at the credit level. Now, these video reviews are also available by audio on our podcast. It's the intros and the final thoughts on GameBoyGeek.com. Click podcast.